morning, everybody. It's a great Tuesday morning. We're here at the barn. This will be the Wellness Investors production today, and we are here with the Semo Family Violent Council with Stephanie and Tracy. They'll be here every month, and it's a great shelter. You can come in, donate, and help people out and help them out throughout the shelter. Volunteering in ways is great. So we're going to talk to them about their goals they have, some monthly events, the holidays, and what they got going on. So glad to have you here, Stephanie and Tracy.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate you coming out.
Definitely.
So let's hear about you guys selves individually, though. What do you guys do around the area outside of the council?
Oh, outside of the council.
Yeah. You guys mothers or?
I'm a mother and a grandmother. I have 6 grandkids from 19 to 6.
Okay.
And they're very involved in the shelter, do stuff with the shelter with us all the time. I guess my life revolves around softball, basketball, soccer, any sport, because all 6 of my grandkids play sports.
So you can find yourself in a ball stands most evenings.
I was there last night. It takes a village to get all them kids where they need to be. So
it does.
I enjoy it. I got one that plays football. They play every sport. So that's my life. I don't have a life other than work and grandkids.
You can't look away.
Oh,
you have to face this because your voice is trailing.
Oh, I can't even hear my voice.
Yeah.
Do I just stare? I like to look at him.
Well,
You can move the mic too. It kind of goes like this. Yep,
We're
there
practicing. This is our voice.
It's her maiden voyage.
You guys sound good, though.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you do outside of the shelter?
Oh, gosh. Well, I have one child. Well, I have 2 stepdaughters. They're grown. And my child that I birthed is 20. So I've had to find things now to kind of occupy my time because he doesn't need me for much anymore. So, if it's not work related, then I kind of am on the reselling stuff. I hit the thrift stores and
Marketplace.
No, I don't use Marketplace. I use
high tech now.
eBay and Mercari, Poshmark, and I'll go like to the city and buy high-end clothing for cheap prices and then mark them up. And yeah,
You got a little pop shop or anything?
it's in my basement. My husband's built like bunch of shelves, and I have totes. You have to have an inventory system, and it's kind of
Those East Coasters eat it up.
yeah. I do. I mail a lot to West and East Coast, but it's. I don't know. I like it. It gives me something to do and makes money, on the side. Yeah. So I've always
All
been
about the money.
Kind of always been a workhorse.
I feel that. So what brought you guys kind of on the head horse of let's start the shelter?
Well, the shelters was there when I got there. I worked on the board for about 5 years, and I was highly committed to that. I had been working for the Innocence Foundation, which is a death row law firm.
Okay.
And so what I saw in all those cases across the country was 90% of them had some form of domestic or sexual assault in their life. And I wrote my
That encountered them physically, right?
Yeah, they encountered it, and I thought, man, this is so coincidental that I'm, want to be involved in a board that the issues are domestic and sexual assault. And what I saw in men that were serving life sentences in death row was that they all had some form of that in their childhood or their teenage or something. So it kind of kept pushing me. And then this job came available. I resigned from the board and I became the assistant director and case manager for the shelter because I feel like if we get to the root of this, maybe we can stop some of this from them becoming criminals and things like that. So because, that's what happens. You get sexually abused, you look for drugs, you look for alcohol, things like that to push down that kind of pain.
I feel that. So I have a question aside of that, like kind of piggybacking off that. And just dealing with, family things. Not that, so say that if you have some people that assume something of a person and they're not that, and they assume that they're, maybe touching a kid or something, and, that person accuses them of that, and that person, knows that they aren't that. How do you think they feel mentally after that?
The person that was accused?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's devastating. That's why we really try to advocate for people being very sure of what they're saying and make sure they define what sexual abuse is, because you don't want to accuse somebody of something because it will stay with them forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if they're acquitted, even if they're found innocent, even if all the evidence against them was, deterred, that will stick with them. It will be in the back of everyone's mind that they were accused of that. So we try to advocate for people when we go and talk publicly, because I do a lot of the public speaking for the shelter. And what we find is that we try to educate them, educate them to know, do not cry wolf, because you make it bad for real victims.
Right.
So make sure when you are accusing somebody, and we try to define what sexual assault is to them. And so we want them to be sure when they say, oh, this guy's sexually assaulted, he didn't just pat you on the back.
Right.
Because a lot of women are getting crazy with some of that, and men are getting crazy with sexual harassment. You got to be sure. You got to have clear boundaries and clear lines about that.
For sure. And I just feel like within the world nowadays, it's just a matter of women know what they want, but I feel like it can get to that timing of, everyone knows when enough is something is, enough. And I feel like women just, women have the power in the world. I feel like they can just turn something however they want to. And, but women are also, respectful and, what you put yourself in situations, you put your situations in.
Right,
so
and that's why we try to educate them. That's why we come out and 1 in 3 women are going to be in a domestic violence situation. I mean, in 1979, it was 1,000 to 1. Now here we are in 2022, it's 1 to 3. It's staggering. It's happening. And I don't know if it's just because people, and it can't just be a women, we get men that call all the time.
Yeah.
That are being sexually harassed, or that somebody has done something inappropriate with them. And so we need to let them know that it's not okay for either sex to be that. Nobody should hold the power to that. Sex shouldn't be a power. And in a marriage with domestic violence, it shouldn't be. That's what we see the majority of, actually, is domestic violence.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to say something. The last time we did this podcast, one of the things we talked about is the judgment that gets placed on more women than men. But, for example, if you have a mom come in and she has 4 children, even go 6 children, and society immediately is like, oh my God, 6 kids, you can't afford 6, whatever it might be. Right. They're ragamuffin children. When the sexual abuse in a domestic violence is, I'm prohibiting you from taking birth control, or, it's whatever. I didn't have that option to stop having these kids, and he's forced sex on me so much that now I have these 6 children. But it's not really my fault. And it's immediately you're placing the blame, though, on that victim, because she has 6 children she can't afford in this world, when nobody's saying to him, you should not have been raping her every night, making her have these children. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we see that a lot.
It's a form of control. A lot of abusers, narcissistic men, will keep a woman pregnant. They'll keep her...
so she can't leave?
So she can't leave, because a lot of women will
say... You guys are Handmaid's Tales watchers, probably.
Yeah. Oh. I have.
I have not. I've heard about that, but I haven't seen it.
I read the books before they even came out, and it was crazy.
Is that kind of how, you're talking, though?
Yeah. I mean, a narcissistic man uses a lot of different forms. So he can use pregnancy as a form of control. Barefoot and pregnant used to be the same. He controls the finances. He controls where you go, who you talk to, who your family is, everything. He's very controlled, but they don't just do it blatantly. It's not just like out there. They slowly, I love you, baby. Let's have another baby. That'll make everything okay. We make beautiful children together. And in that honeymoon stage, you're all for it. You're like, yeah, and the more kids we populate this earth with, it'll be so better, baby. I know the dialogue. The dialogue is, you are beautiful, let's have a baby. And then they just keep getting you pregnant. And let me tell you, it's tough for a woman with 3 kids, let alone, we've had them up to 9.
Especially when they come in and, they may have been, first of all, they don't have a high school diploma. They were never allowed to work. They never had a bank account. There's a world of things. If you think about what makes you like this independent person, they were maybe evicted from an apartment because of the domestic violence. So now that's on her record. Nobody will rent to those people that have an eviction usually. She may have a felony on her record from, years ago or whatever. So it's like she comes in and the odds are just stacked against her. Plus she's got these 6 kids trailing behind her, and she's going to have to find a minimum wage job that's not going to afford all these children. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about, when they are seeing, okay, she did leave. So we've had people that have said, I would rather go back, deal with this once or twice a month, than have to try to figure all this life out by myself with all these odds stacked against me.
So, before it even gets to a point of, figuring out, in the late stage like that, how would you tell someone that's maybe feeling uncomfortable to get uncomfortable to let someone know what's going on, maybe in a act of a sexual abuse or something?
I think it's hard for women to tell because the biggest statement people say is she should just leave. Why does she keep doing this? And we just named about 15 things the reason they don't leave. Their children, finance, education. They don't leave because they feel like it's better to take the abuse than to try to go out and figure out how they're going to pay their car payment, figure out how they're going to get a car. Most of them come to me. I do the case management. Most of them come to me. They don't have a driver's license. They don't have a bank account.
They just sat at home all their life.
They have, or they've been told, don't worry about it, baby. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of
Some guys are like that, though.
They are.
And not all days are bad. I mean, they still. That's one of the things they'll question is, why do I still love this person? Because not all days are bad. We still have good days. We still have fun times, all this stuff. It may only flare up. This violence may only flare up once a month. And then you're in the honeymoon phase because there's a cycle to this. So then you're in the honeymoon phase and all is well and blah, blah, blah. And then you slowly feel like you're walking on eggshells because you kind of feel that tension rising. And then it blows. And the next day or the next 2 days, everything's great. He loves you. I am so sorry. I'm going to get help for this.
Going to therapy.
Or if you would just do X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't do this. So then you do X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C becomes the problem.
Right.
Yeah, and let me give you an example. A lot of people know about the Jackie Waller case. She was murdered by her husband about 10 years ago. She left 3 kids behind, and they are from Farmington. And let me give you an example. She was the breadwinner in that family. She worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So she was so completely different than the normal abuse situation. She was the breadwinner. He was always scheming, always trying to find a better job, better place, going to do this, do that. He was a police officer at one time. He worked construction one time. He worked at Walmart at one time. So he was always getting another job. In the 20 years they were married, when they were getting divorced, he never hit her one time. His abuse was mental and financial and kept her trapped in different ways. But he murdered her. He hit her over the head with a ball bat and buried her body in the Mississippi River.
That's crazy.
So you cannot go by one standard of abuse.
No,
Yeah.
and we don't see the typical Jackie Wallers.
No.
A lot of times the survivors that are coming to get our resources, to come into shelter, to be in our outreach program, their family they've burned bridges. Families have quit being supportive
Because they probably didn't support the
and they're not
other spouse.
educated. If
Yeah.
you're educated about why this happens and why they stay, then you would continue to provide that support.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't understand this and you just keep putting the blame back on her as why do you keep doing these and these and not asking him, why do you do this,
Right,
and this? So we're seeing the ones that are complete destitute most of the time. I mean,
There's
they
drugs,
were
alcohol involved because that's one of their forms of control is alcohol or drugs.
I mean, wouldn't you just stay high every day if
I
you
would.
were dealing with that at home? I mean, you
Yeah,
can totally
just
understand
you
why.
cope with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you know that you can't leave because you got all these kids. You're not educated. You don't even have a driver's license. You don't own a car. Your name is not on anything. He's gotten credit cards in your name and ran the bill up because he knows financial hostage. That's what he's done. He's made you financially a hostage. Most of them come to us and they have no credit or their credit is nothing because he's gotten credit cards. And they know exactly what they're doing. That's the thing. It's that it's very calculated. They know exactly what they're doing. And in their mind, they won't do it ever again. They beat you up or they hurt you, and then they'll come back and they'll say, I promise I'll never do this again. I'll go to therapy. I've heard it all.
We had a guy yesterday. I was on the phone with AT&T trying to get something straightened out, and he's like, so what do you do? Because it was a business account. And I was explaining it, and he's like, wow, I bet you have guys or even women. Now, men don't technically stay in our shelter, our services, which we offer a multitude of other services. That men seek those, but the actual shelter is women and children that are victims of domestic and sexual violence. But anyway, he's like, what do you do when a crazy man shows up? And I said, they're not crazy. They don't act like that. This is full and complete control. The times they do show up, I love you. Just come home. We can work this out. I miss my children. I mean, they are very able to control that behavior, which is why when people are like, well, he's an alcoholic, that's why he's abusive. No, the alcohol may have fueled the violence, but I guarantee there's still other red flags that are happening when he's sober.
I feel like people don't understand that in men, testosterone is a drug.
Oh, absolutely.
That that will eat a man up.
It will. And the thing of it is, if he can control it for the public, you will be surprised. Statistically, 60% of the narcissist men are men that they're coaches, they're preachers, they're teachers. They're very popular in the community. So when something like this happens, people are like, there's no way he does this. So a lot of time they have this beautiful little
picture.
This picture. There's no way that, and those women are the hardest ones for us to get to come to the shelter because they
probably love him so much.
It's just probably a disgrace. Nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe that he does this because everybody loves him in the community. All the kids that he coaches and stuff love him. If he can control it for the community, he should be able, and that's what I tell them when they've been beat up by him. If he can control it for the community, why can't he control it for you?
Right.
I mean, when you're at home, why doesn't he get control then? So
a signal's a signal.
That's right. That's a signal. And we teach a lot because I teach a class on Wednesday night, a group.
What is that class?
Well, the class is for the women in shelter, and we have a huge outreach. And those are women that have left the shelter or didn't need shelter. And they come on Wednesday night. And we usually have between 25 and 50 women. And they come there, and it's really a very big support group. And every week the topic is different. But one of the main topics that we have is red flags. And don't date a guy that doesn't have a car, doesn't have a job, lives,
That's the trending topic these days.
Yeah, don't date a man that lives with his mother. Don't date a man that doesn't have a car, and don't date a man that doesn't have a job. Those are just the top 3 that you shouldn't date because a lot of these women have been with this man for so long. The very first thing they do is want to start dating because they can't be alone. They don't know how to live by themselves.
I feel like that's the truest thing. And I feel like that's a red flag sometimes guys don't catch. Like, you might catch a girl getting out of a relationship, and then guys interact with that girl, and she hops in something new. Like, is that not a signal to you that, maybe she isn't stable or, everyone needs time for everything. So,
and if wait a year.
If you've been in multiple abusive relationships and then you do start dating somebody that's not showing these signs, we have had ladies say, he doesn't call me and want to know where it's not the norm for them, so they're out. It's like I don't even know how to act in a normal relationship because I'm so used to being called 12 times a day saying, where are you at, what time will my dinner be done, whatever it might be. So you'll see that it's like they don't know how to even accept a normal relationship because it's not the norm for them.
Right. I feel that.
Well, and the thing of it is, we not only are we having to deal with the women and all their emotions and all their things that they're going through, we've got little kids, and not their wives say, "Oh, he never hit them; he only hit me." He's a good dad. He's a great dad. I say, great dads don't hit great moms.
Right.
And so, if he's hitting you, he's not a great dad. He's not showing his children what greatness is. And I said, you're a queen. You got to act like a queen. You don't act like a slave. You don't get in there and say things like, it's okay if he hits me as long as he's not hitting the kids.
Right.
So.
No, I was telling you, scoot up.
Oh, scoot up.
I love talking with you guys because, I feel like I was a seer of that within growing up. Like, and my parents have came a long way. Like, my dad has had his days of admitting that, he was a bad dad and stuff. I feel like it was for the kids, that my parents stayed together through the haul as long as they could, but you can kind of tell that it was never really that, but it was just always because maybe they had some kids. Like, I'd come home and my mom, like, it would be the story that my mom was a drunk, and then, she'd like have a black eye or something, and, oh, she did that spell or whatever. And then, like, you grow older and kind of like put things in perspective and start to hear things different. So, you just kind of come to understanding things more.
It's staying together is for the children is a terrible
it is
excuse. I mean,
Because parents, that, but you get it at the same time, especially being so young. And then, but kids grow up and that kind of just like spirals them. But I feel like that could go into like affect some people's like love life because I feel like I've always said like, I don't want this and that. So, when I interact with women, it might be, it might seem like I want a lot, but I'm really easygoing because I've encountered a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't want to have to. I just know what
You've learned. You know
what I'm saying?
What the good, the bad is.
Yeah, but it don't come off as that to women because it's like, oh, that seems like a lot. But everyone has to experience something to learn from it. You know what I'm saying?
You're a high maintenance man.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm really not. I'm really not.
You have standards. You want standards.
Yes.
You don't want a woman that does this.
Yeah. And that's great because
some people don't understand that.
Right.
Sometimes when you get to be an adult, you have to make a decision. Am I going to continue, and am I going to now love a man that I watched do this to my father or to my mother because was the norm?
Right.
Unless you get educated and know that was not that wasn't the good way of being raised.
Right.
So I mean, I've met men. There's been men on our board of directors in the past that came out of where their parents were, and it's like you either had to choose. I'm going to be so far from this, and not have that kind of lifestyle, or am I just going to continue and beat on women like I used to watch my dad beat on my mom?
And like we started the podcast with, like, it kind of just happens like in some time in your life. And when I first started therapy, like, everyone has you do that test of kind of like what reflects back in your life. And mine was like, I never really sat down and thought about that, but how like my parents' life reflected into my life was really like matching up. So I was like, man, I gotta like shed some things off.
Yeah.
So,
and I think like she just said, they either choose to go the polar opposite. I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to have it, or they follow in the trend. We have 5 generations that's been coming to our shelter. Their mother was, their grandmother was, and it's amazing all the generations we're seeing come through the shelter. So we've got to stop it. And Stephanie and I have kind of started a new path in the last year where we've decided that path is going to be in education, in the sense of it's starting when they're in kindergarten. They think it's normal. And I say this a lot of times when I speak is when I went to school, there was maybe one person in my class that came from a divorced family.
Now it's like 3 to 4.
Now it's like there's very few people that have had the same parents all the way through school.
That's very true.
And so we've got to slow down a little bit and look at our education. So a new law came out in 2020 that says from 6th grade to 12th grade, you have to have a domestic and sexual assault education. It's required.
Oh, in
now,
school?
In school. We service 5 counties. So it's not just St. Francis, St. John, Ironton, Madison, Washington, St. Francis. All those schools have to have this conversation with their students. And it starts out in 6th grade. And you don't do it all at once. You do 6th grade, 7th grade. Central has been the most compliant. It called us the very first year, come talk to our kids. What we found in that talk was the kids lined up after our talk. My mom's boyfriend wants me to sleep with him when my mom's working.
Girls?
Yeah.
Oh.
And there were boys in there that were like, this coach, he wants me to stay after practice. And we were just blown away by how many children in our talks that we had with them that were having experiences but didn't know it was a wrong experience because the abuser was saying, it's okay, don't tell anybody. And so it's out there. We had a line outside the door.
That's crazy.
So this is a needed education. By the time they get to the shelter, we're putting a Band-Aid on an already years of problem.
So what's a hotline number you can call if,
So there's different ways that you can get a hold of us. We have a 24-hour hotline. We have staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That number is 1-800-663-9929. And then we also kind of recommend that folks follow us on Facebook because in a different realm of what we do, we're also providing for 32 women and children. That's how many beds we have. So imagine how many trash bags, how many
paper plates, cups, all that
deodorant,
stuff.
Shampoo, laundry soap. There's 32 people living under this roof, along with our massive outreach program. So if you follow us on Facebook, which is Southeast Missouri Family Violence Council, you're going to see those needs. You're going to see upcoming fundraisers. You're going to see awareness and education, stuff like that. And real quick, I don't know how much time we have left, but we're going to talk just real quick about the holidays.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's your guys like?
Yeah. So
crazy.
what we've done, and I've been there for 18 years. She's been there, I don't even know, a long time, but we do what's called an adopt a family. And so everybody in our program submits a Christmas list with 3 items on it. And we ask that those 3 items total don't cost more than $100. And you might have individuals, you might have, a doctor's office, and they all want to pitch in and do this, a church group, whatever. And you get, like you might say, hey, I want a woman and 2 children, or you might want 3 single women. And what we're going to do is give you that list, and then the gifts are brought to us by the middle of December, unwrapped, and then the moms usually wrap the kids' gifts. We wrap the moms' gifts. That way, everybody in the program has Christmas.
A hand in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christmas.
Yeah.
That's 60 families we're buying for this year. So if people are interested in Adopt a Family, they need to reach out to 573-358-3913 or call Stephanie and I, or go on our Facebook page and say, hey, we're interested in doing it, because it's a huge undertaking at the shelter.
And actually, I had somebody send me a message the other day. They were like, I can't do $100, but could I donate a $25 Amazon gift card? Well, absolutely, because we also have people that are coming in. We've had people coming in, Christmas Eve, so their name didn't get thrown out into the adoptive family. So then we're looking for things that have been donated that we can then wrap, and that way they have a Christmas
Make
too.
someone smile.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and when you're in that time of crisis, and this is a sad time, this might be your first Christmas away from your husband, whoever. It's a hard time for the kids, so we really make it important to them. We have Elf on a Shelf in the shelter. Our staff every night does some crazy thing with him. We have Christmas trees in all the rooms. We have a lot. We try to make this their home, and that they feel good, because holidays are a sad time sometimes anyway. So when you're in a shelter with 30-something other women, you got to try to be very creative.
For sure.
It's a great program.
For sure. And 2 months left to the year. What's some goals within the shelter maybe you guys got?
Right now, it's holiday focused, and that's making sure, like I said, that we have enough people come forward that do the Adopt a Family. We've already got some. I think it's
Harvest Church gave us 25 turkeys.
Yeah, the
Cool.
commitment for the Thanksgiving baskets for all of our outreach.
Can anybody send canned goods or
absolutely
to the just bring to the shelter?
Yeah, just bring to the shelter stuffing.
And that's 8001 Berry Road, so you can take any donations there.
Yeah, in Bonne Terre, Missouri, in case you're listening and not even located in the state. And real quick, we also have what's called the Purple Pledge program, and that is because we do have so many fundraisers throughout the year, and people get invited to so many fundraisers. So we created the Purple Pledge program, and basically what that is we've partnered with a local bank, and let's say you want to have $10 a month automatically deducted from your bank account. It goes straight into our bank account. That way, yes, you helped. You didn't have to commit to going to, 3 or 4 fundraisers. So we started that. And if you donate $100 or more throughout the year, then you will get a tax credit. So you'll get a Missouri State Domestic Violence tax credit for 70% of your donation to use with your Missouri state taxes. So that's kind of a benefit for it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's different than a tax deduction. A tax credit is you're going to actually get 70%, say, of $100. You're going to get 70 of it back on your taxes. Whereas you do a tax deduction, it's like 18%.
Right.
So we get that because we are a domestic violence shelter. So the state gives us this extra tax credit so that people will be more likely to give to our benefit.
Yeah, and a lot of people use the donate button. There's a donate button on our website, which is semofvc.net. And you can make a donation that way.
Okay, cool. That sounds great.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
No, and
it was fun, DJ.
Stephanie and Tracy, and we'll have them on every Tuesday of the month, or when we get rolling. But I think these will be some great talks
thank you so much.
from the range from, like I said, kids, the single wives, the married couples. I feel like it's a conversation everyone needs to listen to, and it's only 30 minutes, so you can tune in real quick and
definitely
get to tune in. People want to maybe email you guys personally. You guys got emails?
We do.
Yeah, my email is Semo, SEMOFVC. So it's kind of shortened for Family Violence Council.
Okay.
So SEMOFVC94 at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. And you guys can get a hold of them there, and then we'll drop their contacts below in the links. And this is the Wellness Vesters, Semo Family Violence of Council, and they're here, and they'll be here monthly. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.